Barbara had an experience that changed her view on buying things online. Can you solve the mystery behind her story? My name is Barbara, and I want to share a story that completely changed my outlook on buying things online. I'm hoping that by sharing this, I can help others avoid the nightmare I went through. A few months ago, I graduated from college and landed my first job in a new city. It was an exciting time, but also super stressful. I needed a reliable car to get to work and around town. I didn't have a lot of money saved up, so I started looking for used cars on Craigslist. That's when I found what seemed like a great deal, a 2015 Honda Civic, low miles, priced well below market value. It seemed perfect. The seller's name was Charles. He seemed nice enough over email, and he said he was selling the car because he was moving overseas for work. We agreed to meet in a public place, a supermarket parking lot, which made me feel safer. When I met Charles, he was an average-looking guy in his mid-30s, a bit scruffy, but nothing that set off alarm bells. The car looked good too, clean, well-maintained, and it drove fine during the test drive. We did the paperwork, and I handed over the cash. He even gave me a spare set of keys. For the first couple of weeks, everything was fine. The car ran perfectly, and I was just happy to have reliable transportation. But then, weird things started happening. It started with small, annoying notes left inside the car. At first, I thought maybe I'd dropped a receipt or something, but these notes were different. They were written on scraps of paper in hurried, almost frantic handwriting. The first one I found was under the passenger seat. It said, "I know what you did." I was creeped out, but I figured it was probably just some prank or a leftover from the previous owner. A few days later, I found another note, this time in the glove compartment. "You can't hide forever." That one really freaked me out. I decided to go through the car thoroughly, hoping to find an explanation. That's when I found a small compartment under the driver's seat that I hadn't noticed before. Inside, there were more notes, and a few personal items like a cheap watch, a pocket knife, and some old photos of Charles with various people. One of the notes was particularly chilling. It said, "I will find you." I was officially terrified. I decided to reach out to Charles, but when I tried calling the number he'd given me, it was disconnected. I sent an email, but it bounced back. I started feeling like I was being watched all the time. Every time I got into the car, I was paranoid, constantly checking the rearview mirror. One evening, after a late shift at work, I was walking to my car when I noticed someone standing near it. It was a man, tall and thin, with a hood pulled up over his head. He was just standing there, staring at my car. I froze. When he saw me, he turned and walked away quickly, disappearing into the shadows. My heart was pounding in my chest. I rushed to my car, locked the doors, and drove home as fast as I could. The next day, I went to the police. I told them everything, showed them the notes, and gave them Charles's details. They took it seriously, which was a relief. They ran a check on the car's history and Charles's background. That's when things took a dark turn. The officer handling my case called me in for a meeting. He told me that Charles wasn't who he said he was. The car had been reported stolen a few months before I bought it, and Charles was actually a suspect in a series of burglaries and assaults in several states. He was on the run, and it seemed like he'd sold me the car to get some quick cash before disappearing again. The notes and personal items were likely left by someone he'd wronged or someone looking for him. The police advised me to get rid of the car and to stay vigilant. They also put a patrol around my neighborhood for a while, just in case. I decided to sell the car to a reputable dealer, explaining the situation to them. I lost some money in the process, but it was worth it for my peace of mind. This whole experience left me shaken. I felt violated, scared, and constantly on edge. I moved to a new apartment with better security and started taking self-defense classes. But the fear lingered. I kept thinking about how easily things could have gone worse. So, I'm sharing my story to warn others. Be careful when buying items online, especially big-ticket things like cars. Always meet in a safe, public place and bring someone with you if possible. Do a thorough check on the item's history and the seller's background. And if something feels off, trust your gut and walk away. You never know who you're really dealing with or what kind of danger you might be getting yourself into. William recently went through a rough divorce and decided to start fresh by moving into a new apartment. Can you help him uncover the mystery behind an antique dresser he bought? Follow the clues and answer the questions to solve the puzzle. My name is William, and I recently went through a pretty rough divorce. I decided it was time for a fresh start, so I moved into a new apartment. The place was decent, but it was a bit bare. I wanted to redecorate and make it feel more like home. That's when I started browsing Craigslist for some unique pieces of furniture. One day, I stumbled upon this beautiful antique dresser listed for an unbelievably low price. It looked perfect, something straight out of an old movie, and I could already imagine it fitting perfectly in my new bedroom. I immediately contacted the seller, a guy named Tom. He sounded polite and trustworthy over the phone, and we arranged to meet at his storage unit to pick up the dresser. The day came, and I drove to the address Tom had given me. The storage unit was in a quiet part of town, not too sketchy, which put me at ease. Tom was already there when I arrived. He was a middle-aged man, a bit older than I had imagined, with a friendly demeanor. The transaction went smoothly. Tom even helped me load the dresser into my truck, chatting amiably the whole time. Everything seemed perfectly normal. Once I got home, I placed the dresser in my bedroom. It looked even better than I had imagined. A couple of days later, I started noticing some odd things. I found a small, hidden compartment in one of the drawers. At first, I thought it was just a neat little secret feature, but what I found inside was disturbing. Old photographs of a woman looking distressed and scared. There were also some handwritten notes that didn't make much sense to me. They seemed to be from different people, all of them referencing someone named Ethan. Things took a turn for the worse when I started receiving strange messages. At first, they were just anonymous emails, warning me about the dresser and the man who sold it to me. I dismissed them as pranks. But then I got a phone call from a blocked number. The person on the other end was frantic, telling me that the man I knew as Tom was actually a dangerous imposter named Ethan, with a history of violent crimes. They warned me to get rid of the dresser and contact the authorities immediately. I was skeptical, but the photos and notes in the dresser haunted me. I decided to do some digging. I managed to contact one of Ethan's former victims who had survived. She was incredibly brave, sharing her story with me in detail. Ethan had a method. He lured people in with his charm, sold them items with hidden compartments containing disturbing contents, and then tormented them. The woman in the photograph was one of Ethan's recent victims, still missing. I was horrified. This was no joke. This was real. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. With the help of the survivor and local authorities, we devised a plan to catch Ethan. I went back to Craigslist, this time pretending to sell another valuable item. Sure enough, Ethan, posing as Tom, took the bait. We arranged to meet, and the police were ready, waiting nearby. The day of the meeting was tense. I was nervous but determined. Ethan showed up and everything about him seemed normal, just like before. But as soon as the police moved in to arrest him, his demeanor changed. He tried to run, but they caught him. It was over. In the end, Ethan was brought to justice. The missing woman was found and she was reunited with her family. It was a relief to know that he couldn't hurt anyone else. As for the dresser, I couldn't bear to keep it. I got rid of it, and with it, the dark memories it carried. Looking back, it's still hard to believe how a simple piece of furniture led me down such a terrifying path. It's a story I'll never forget, a reminder that sometimes The scariest things in life are hiding in plain sight. Hannah had a chilling experience when she transferred to a new university and found a place to live. Can you help her uncover the mystery behind her creepy landlord? Hey there, I'm Anna, and let me tell you about the crazy experience I had when I transferred to a new university. See, finding affordable housing near campus was like finding a unicorn until I stumbled upon this Craigslist ad for a room in a cozy old house. It was perfect, close to campus and dirt cheap. The landlord, Mr. Robert, was a bit odd but friendly enough. Middle-aged guy, always had this nervous energy about him. He showed me around, gave me the whole spiel about the house's history, nothing too out of the ordinary. The rent he offered was suspiciously low, but hey, broke college student here, I wasn't about to question a good deal. Moving day was uneventful. My new roommate Lisa seemed cool but super busy with her own life. We exchanged polite hellos and that was about it. The first week was alright, except for a few weird things, like my shampoo going missing or hearing strange noises in the walls. I chalked it up to an old house settling or maybe Lisa being forgetful. Then things got weirder. Lisa started acting distant, like avoiding me altogether. Mr. Robert would show up unannounced, asking odd questions about whether I liked the room or if I needed anything. I swear he would sometimes just stand in the hallway, staring at me when he thought I wasn't looking. Gave me the creeps. One day I was poking around the attic, trying to find a box of old textbooks, when I stumbled upon this hidden crawl space. Curiosity got the best of me, so I squeezed in. It was dark, musty, filled with dust and old cobwebs, and that's where things took a turn. Inside, I found boxes labeled with a name. Rachel. It hit me then. Rachel was the girl who lived here before me. There were photos too. Photos of Rachel doing everyday stuff like studying or cooking, but they were all taken without her knowing. Candid shots like someone had been spying on her. I freaked out, but that wasn't even the worst of it. Down in the basement, there was this locked door. Mr. Robert had explicitly told me to stay out of there. Of course, that only made me more curious. One night when he was out, I managed to pick the lock. Inside, there were more photos, Rachel again, but these were different. They were intimate, invasive. It was like whoever took them was obsessed with her. I felt sick. It dawned on me, Mr. Robert wasn't just eccentric. He was a creep, a stalker maybe. Who knows what happened to Rachel? Did he drive her away? Did something worse happen? I didn't stick around to find out. Packed my stuff that night, crashed with a friend, and reported everything to the police. Turns out, Rachel had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. They found evidence linking Mr. Robert to her, but by then, he'd skipped town. It still gives me chills, thinking about how close I came to whatever fate Rachel met. So, if you're ever looking for a place to rent, just remember, cheap rent isn't always worth the price you might pay.